WHBQ Memphis and W253DF Memphis, Flynn Broadcasting Stations.
It's time for Wolo and Friends on Sports 56. Here is your host, the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin.
Welcome in on this Tuesday. Could be a newsy week, court-wise, business-wise, and we got Joe Dank coming your way at about 10:25 today. Ron Higgins in a new slot. He moves to today at 10:45. He'll be our final segment on Tuesdays. Jason Munns will move to Wednesdays starting tomorrow. Also tomorrow, program note, we start a new segment at 10:10, a little different perspective on sports. That will be Dennis Philippi on the lighter side, I guess we could say, of sports. We'll try that beginning tomorrow morning. In the meantime, serious stuff this week. We're going to get into it with Joe Dank a little bit. Courts are going to figure out with the NCAA about a $2.7 billion settlement about a deal that could be put forth where the Power Four will agree to pay 22% or $20 million per year of their revenue to student athletes. There's also the payback of $2.7 billion, of which the group of four will pay 60%. Now, this may not happen. This is the settlement they're hoping to have. And the group of five, the non-Power Five, would have to pay 40%. I did the math. That's about $1.1 billion for the people that don't have money and $1.6 million for the people that do. I don't know if this passes. Joe Dank's going to have a look at that. And if the other part of this, where you'll split 22% of the revenue that you get in the group of four, that means that group has $20 million. And I don't know how they'll break it down. Will that be $10 million for the men and $10 million for the women? Does every sport get it? Do we lose a tennis team? Do we lose administrators? Are we going to see coaching salaries go down? Are we going to see travel diminished in certain ways? I don't know the answers. I don't know if this will all come true. But we're going to wait and see how all of this plays out. The beginning of that takes place this week. So you hate to say it, but Memphis, which is in a great position at this moment, if this deal goes through, all the group of fives, which are always in an underdog role, all the group of five actually lose even more. Their ability to survive in this crazy world becomes even tougher because there's no way they can raise $20 million per school to give to athletes. We were just amazed at the $5 million per year you were going to get from FedEx. You're hoping to match that, maybe to get to 10. How are you going to get to $20 million? That's not NIL. That's revenue sharing. They'll still have NIL. How can you possibly match all of that? This could be a tough week. It will not be a tough week for Scottie Scheffler. Scottie Scheffler has his arraignment postponed until Monday, June the 3rd. So that is the weekend, I believe, or the week. That's a Monday. That next Thursday is the first round of the Memorial. That's Jack Nicklaus's tournament. So Columbus, Ohio is not that far from Louisville. So that makes it very doable for Scottie Scheffler. The prosecution didn't want this to happen. I think they're afraid that more video is going to show exactly what happened. We got another eyewitness to this that I had not seen until it was finally written up, actually in a New York newspaper. Bob Wischusen, who is the ESPN announcer. He's also the New York Jets announcer on radio. He's really good. He's also a great hockey announcer. He started doing hockey this year. I have a lot of respect for Bob Wischusen. He was in the same van with Jeff Darlington. And his story is pretty much the same, but he comes right out and says he saw Scottie Scheffler get directed by one cop to go into that median. Then he says he saw the other cop, Gillis, jump on the car. Gillis is talking like he got dragged and he accelerated. Everybody says he was going about 5 miles an hour. He got into the lane because he was directed there. This guy jumps on the car. Probably fell down off the car. And, by the way, didn't have his body cam on. Isn't that convenient? There is video, though, from not Jeff Darlington in the aftermath, but there's video from a fixed camera that shows what happened here. I think the prosecution wants this to go to court as soon as possible, so there are less people that can get involved. Because Bob Wischusen's testimony, or his eyewitness account, he has not testified. He hasn't even been called to testify, which is interesting. Neither is Darlington. Neither of them have been called by the defense lawyer or by the prosecuting attorney. So I think they're still trying to make a deal. But Wischusen is saying that Gillis, the cop, the arresting cop, he got really angry and jumped on the car. So, anyway, that is moved for 2 weeks. So we're not going to know any more about that for a little while. Shout out G.G. Jackson, second team all-rookie. And there were a lot of good rookies when you got Wembanyama, who's a future MVP. You got Chet Holmgren. He's all NBA. You had Brandon Miller. He was all NBA. There are a lot of really good rookies this year. But he's in the top 10. And let's face it, he really only played the second half of the year. In the games that he played, he averaged 14.6 and 4 rebounds. But his last 20 games, he averaged 18. It helps that in his last game against Denver, he had 44. He is the youngest guy ever to get in the 40s in the NBA. I was reading that story, and then I love reading, I guess it was in the Daily Memphian, because you see what the readers think. I like the fact that you can message those. I never do. I know plenty of people who do, though. And I like reading the different opinions about it. And one person was saying he's going to be the third guy off the bench. So if he's the eighth guy on this team next year, I think that's a pretty good team. I think that's a team that can somewhat contend, provided they find an offensive, a center that can rebound and defend. I keep hearing Jared Allen, but I don't know what you have to give up to get Jared Allen.
A lot.
Probably too much.
Yeah,
because I've heard G.G. Jackson in that discussion.
Yeah, Jared Allen, he's getting, I think, 20 to 22 million next season.
Is that what he's due? I did not know. I know that he is, I think he came into the league in 18, maybe? So he's right in the prime of his career. And he's turned out to be a really solid player. And so this is the years that he would make his big money. So that's probably a hard reach. But I think he's a targeted guy, but you'd have to give up a lot. You'd probably have to give up your draft pick, a guy like G.G. Jackson, and probably somebody else that's got some salary to him.
And if that's the case, then I'm good.
You say goodbye to Gigi?
No, I say goodbye to Jared Allen.
To Jared Allen. You take your chance with Zach Edey or Filipowski, because I don't think Klingon's going to be there at 9 unless you make a deal to move up.
I like Zubac from the Clippers.
What would he cost?
Right now, his contract is like $11 million.
But forget the numbers you got to match. What does it cost to get him?
Oh, I don't think it's going to cost you your first.
You don't think it's going to give you you don't have to give it the number 9 slot?
I bet the Clippers
I'm
are
very
gonna
happy to rid
number
myself of the number 9 slot, personally. No. I don't think it's a great draft. And I'd rather take a proven guy with bulk and knows a role that will play that role, and that's the center position, which to me is the most important thing. This is one of the few times that I am for the position as opposed to the best available player. And I'll tell you this too. I don't know that there's a great guy in this draft. So this is the one time where you go, let's get this position. Let's give up this pick if we have to. So I don't know what Zach Kleiman is thinking. That's where my kind of sense of it all is. I'd try to keep G.G. Jackson. I think G.G. Jackson likes to defend because he's athletic and he relishes that. We know he can score. He can score in bunches if he gets the ball. Now, let's face it. He's not going to score 44 if John Morant, Desmond Bane, and Jaren Jackson Jr. are all on the court at the same time. There's not enough shots because those other guys are going to get shots before he does. But he can be a really good player. And if you're talking about a guy to come off the bench and give you energy and may be there maybe, depending on matchups at the end of the game, I'm high on the guy.
I am too. Like, I mean, between, 12 to 15 points off the bench, he could go larger, but in a more zeroed-in, focused role, especially, like you said, with Ja, Dez, and Jaren being the main guys to score the basketball. Like 12 to 15 points per game off the bench, I'm fine. I'm fine with that.
You think about this. This was a very good Zach Kleiman move. First of all, they take a chance on the guy. They get him with the 45th pick, literally right in the middle of the second round. They're paying him nothing, and they got him for a good deal on a 4-year contract now. And he ends up being one of the top 10 rookies of the year. I mean, if I'd said to you before the season began, here's a guy going to be second-team all-rookie, what would you have said to me? What?
That's a steal.
Yeah. I like Vince Williams too, but we'll wait and see how that works when everybody is around. But I think G.G. Jackson's going to be a piece in the rotation. Even if it's at the back end of that second team, he's an energy guy. And you're not going to lose scoring and defense when he comes in. So it's a real positive. I'd give up that pick, but I do think you go position. We'll wait and see on that. In the meantime, playoffs begin tonight. Boston is the overwhelming favorite, -165 to win the NBA championship by Vegas odds. Minnesota is second. So Boston and Minnesota are picked to win their respective series. Boston over Indiana, which I believe is a 6 seed. Minnesota a 3 seed against Dallas, a 5 seed. 1-6-3-5. Tells you this. There's a lot of parity in the NBA. Nobody would have picked this Final Four. Nobody.
No, especially how the first and second seeds in the West, teams in the West, OKC and the Nuggets, and how they pretty much went out. Like, yeah, like nobody expected a 6-seeded Pacers team to make it to the Eastern Conference Finals either. So
I wouldn't have thought before the season began, as good a coach as Tom Thibodeau is, that the number 2 seed would be the New York Knicks in the East. I would not have thought that would be the case either. So they were surprised at 2, and then they got so banged up. They're going to be a good, well, they got some business moves they got to make. I think Iguodala, not Iguodala. Who's the guy that was injured tried to come back?
Anunoby.
OG Anunoby. OG Anunoby. Thank you. Had a mind. That's old age creeping up on your buddy Wolo. OG Anunoby, I think he's in a contract year, right? He can go. I think there's one other key piece that has the flexibility of leaving or could be extended. They got some business decisions to make there, and
yeah.
I think Thibodeau's an extension year too. If they did not want to stay with Tom Thibodeau, I was listening to the guys on the TNT show, and they made a great point. One thing about the Knicks and Thibodeau, they make moves to better their system, which is what you should do, right? You like a lot of players move to a particular team with a style that really doesn't fit them. I think it was Kenny Smith made the point. He goes, people ask me about these moves, and I shake my head. I go, well, he's a good player, but he's not going to be good in that system. Why would you make that move? The Knicks make moves that fit the Thibodeau system, so I would think they would keep Thibodeau. And Brunson's a perfect guy for that system. So they're going to be good. There is a lot of parity across the board. Boston at minus 165, Minnesota plus 250, Dallas plus 500, Indiana plus 3,000. Do you see any upset here? Do you think, obviously, Dallas could beat Minnesota. There are several people out there that have predicted that Dallas would beat Minnesota. I think there were 15 guys that picked for ESPN. Out of the 15, I think it was 9 with Minnesota, 6 with Dallas. The 15 that picked the Eastern Conference Series, it was 13-2. That was all Boston. I don't see Indiana beating Boston. I think that's 5 or 6 games, especially if Porzingis comes back. As much as I like what Indiana's done, and I'm a huge Rick Carlisle fan, Minnesota and Dallas, I keep going over and over that competition in my head, and I can't figure it out. Can you?
It's tough because right now Minnesota's just clicking on all cylinders. Like, you just defensively,
that's it right there.
Yeah.
In every game they beat Denver, a team that can score, they held them under 100. What do they say? It's a cliche, but there's something to it.
Defense
wins titles. That's why I think Minnesota's going to win it. And then if Porzingis doesn't come back, I think Boston's going to win without Porzingis in the East. I don't think they'll win the title over Minnesota without Porzingis, especially with Cat and Gobert and the way Ant's playing now. Whew, that'd be tough.
But I will say the last time, like when we talked about this yesterday morning, on Sports 56 Mornings. The last time the Timberwolves and the Mavericks play each other, it was the last game in January. It was the last game of the series in January. It was like before the trade deadline. This was before Gafford and before P.J. Washington were traded to the Mavericks. So I could say, like Minnesota's gonna be a heavy favorite, but it could be a fairly even series because they got 4 bigs that they can deploy to match up with Karl Anthony Towns, Gobert, and Naz Reid.
Yeah, this going to be a fun time. There's no question about that. One last story, and I can't wait to talk with Joe Dank about this. It was just a matter of time, and now we got it. You ready? Court case. We talked about the $2.7 billion deal that's on the table with the NCAA and all the schools here. The University of Florida has a quarterback recruit named Jaden Rashada, who, according to Rashada and his agent, was promised over the course of his career at Florida by Billy Napier and a booster $13.85 million with a $1 million signing bonus as soon as he signed his letter of intent. He never got that money. He turned down an offer from Miami, apparently for $9.5 million. This guy must be a heck of a quarterback. Never got a penny of the $13.85 million. He is now suing Napier, the school, and the booster that promised him the money. Can't wait to see how all of that will play out. We'll talk about that and a whole lot more, including the future of the UFL. How are they doing in the TV ratings? Joe Dank, former GM of Channel 24 and 30. He's got your answers coming your way in a minute, and we will chat with him about that. He'll be brought to you in part by Memphis Parks Golf, Memphis Public Links, and they got a great website where you can get tee times, memphispublinks.com. publiclinks.com. Memphis does so many great things. They understand it's an amenity for a city, a great city. And by the way, did you see where the city of Memphis was ahead in a story by the Times of London? They did this big survey, and they took all these factors into account. Memphis was considered a better destination place to visit than St. Louis or Chicago. Amazing. And they understand the city of Memphis. Golf, it's a great amenity. And they not only do they have these great courses with the new Audubon coming and the new Pine Hill in place and the new OP9, they have great tournaments. They have a Galloway Championship. They got a parent-child tournament at Overton Park, which is fun. I'm taking place with that. In fact, my son and I and Ted Butler and his son will be going at it. I think it's June 15th this year. You got the 76th OPO, the Overton Park Junior Open. That is incredible. You got the Memphis Amateur Championship in the middle of July. They do all kinds of great competition. So if you want to become a player and at your level and learn what it's like to compete, playing down, got to get it in the hole, this is the great place. They do everything terrific at Memphis Public Links. Go to memphispubliclinks.com and you'll learn a whole lot more. We take the break. Joe Dank is right around the corner on Wolo and Friends.
Start your day with Sports 56 Mornings with Greg Gaston and Eli Savoy. Weekday mornings from 7 to 10, right here on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Anticipation is building for Memphis football.
3, 2, 1, that's your winner!
With a cast of returning stars ready for the big stage.
Caught! Rock Taylor! Touchdown Tigers!
The momentum for Memphis football is on the rise.
Harrigan into the end zone. Tiger touchdown. He just wouldn't be denied.
It's time to pounce. So purchase your tickets today at GoTigersGo.com.
I've got Jason, the main man Marshall, here, and he's ready to start something big at Gossett Volkswagen on the Pike. What's up, Jace?
Randy, I've got 42 MPG on the highway on the all-new 2024 Volkswagen Jetta SE for only $249 a month. Or take your pick from the 2024 Tiguan S front-wheel drive or 2024 Taos SE. We Gossett at $279.28 a month.
That's a 2024 Volkswagen Jetta SE, $249 a month. Or take your pick from 2024 Tiguan S or 2024 Taos SE, $279.28 a month.
And Randy, you know the deal. Make me an offer because no reasonable offer will be refused.
Ask for Jason, the main man Marshall at Gossett Volkswagen, 1875 Covington Pike. Online, GossettVWMemphis.com.
Where we're charging for it and charging less every day.
All 36-month lease, 7,500 miles per year. Taos RMO 51756, MSRP 26063. Tiguan RM 103,910, MSRP 31363. Jetta RMO 48802, MSRP 25506. Cross Sport RC 236449, MSRP 38981. Includes $3,000 rebate. Cannot be combined with special APR. Includes all rebates and incentives. PF 695. Excludes tax on license. See dealer for complete details. Offer valid through the end of the month with approved credit dealer stock only.
Welcome to the Rendezvous.
This is John Vergas. When my dad started the Rendezvous in 1948, I don't think anyone could have imagined we'd still be serving shoulder, cheese plates, and our world-famous dry rub ribs 75 years later. But we are still here in the basement, in an alley in downtown Memphis. We sincerely thank you for making the Rendezvous what it is today. Charlie Vergas Rendezvous. A legendary experience for over 75 years, whether you dine in, pick up, or ship across the country.
Extraordinary events come once in a blue moon, and right now, even the most extravagant luxuries are well within reach. The one and only May sale is back at Sissy's Log Cabin, and you can save up to 50% on nearly everything in the store. This is your chance to get the service, selection, and experience that makes you feel like family at the best prices of the year, guaranteed. Don't miss the one and only May sale at Sissy's Log Cabin, because life's too short for ordinary jewelry.
Jenkins Floors and More invites you to their retail warehouse where they pass wholesale savings on to you. Jenkins Floors in Little Rock, Cleveland, Mississippi, and opening June 1st in Horn Lake at 2356 West Goodman Road. Specializing in flooring and carpeting, tile, plantation shutters, and blinds, Jenkins makes your life easy with a 2-week turnaround. Contractors, builders, or family projects, call 662-469-9350 for a free estimate. Owners Timmy and Rebecca Jenkins say hello to Sports 56 fans and look forward to your business.
Now back to Wolo and Friends on Sports 56. Here once again is the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin.
Every Tuesday, we talk the business of sports with our friend Joe Dank, former television general manager, also sports producer. Knows the games, knows the biz. I love chatting with him, and let's start with the UFL. Is the UFL just a TV show? How are the ratings going? Because I'm looking everywhere except St. Louis. I see nobody in the stands. I see good television production. I see, I think, decent quality of play. It's hard to really tell. I know the Showboats haven't lived up to the deal, that's for certain. But I don't see crowds. So what are the TV numbers like? Is this succeeding or failing? Good morning, Joe Dank.
Good morning, David. Good to be with you.
So tell me, what do you think?
Well, look, first and foremost, I think your first point is absolutely spot on. It's a TV show first, and if they could play it in a studio, I think they might, just for the efficiencies of production and otherwise. And in too many cases, you might be able to fit the crowds that have come into the studio. So it has been interesting, as you say, with the exception of St. Louis, which continues to average over 30,000 fans a game. And they just popped 32,000 this week in St. Louis. Now, the interesting thing, this week in terms of on-site attendance, they had the second best week of the 8 weeks of the season so far. The league averaged just under 16,000 fans per game. But now remember, St. Louis affects that with 32,000.
Do you buy that? Do you think that's legit? They announced, I think, 7,000 at the first Memphis game that I was at. I don't think there was more than 4,000, honestly.
Well, but for purposes of what we can realistically talk about, we can only use the reported numbers, I guess, because we're not on hand and we didn't get another count to refute it. But it was an average of just under 16,000 this week. As I said, just the second best week.
I think that's a good number, to be honest with you, for the amount of money they're paying the players. And we'll get to the TV numbers, but if you could average 16,000 for what do they got? 4 games per week. I'd take that.
Well, that's what they got. So. But again, it's really artificially inflated because St. Louis was home and had 32,000. I mean, really, that's a 2-for-1 in St. Louis if you think about it. They average 16. So it'd go way down without them. But the league continues, and some sources tell us that, the season in general amongst the entire league has exceeded expectations. The TV ratings through 7 weeks, so this does not include this past weekend, but the TV ratings through 7 weeks, there have been 26 total telecasts. They're averaging 834,000 viewers per telecast. That's 37% increase over last year. Last year, you'll recall, there were 2 leagues, the USFL and the XFL. There were twice as many telecasts. So, one of those old principles, they reduced the supply by half, and they've increased the demand maybe perhaps by 37%, it shows. So fewer windows. The other interesting thing about the TV, and I think this helps explain the increase in ratings as well, is that most of the broadcasts have consolidated on over-the-air. Fox over-the-air will be 21 games this year, and ABC will have 10. So 31 of the national telecasts are on an over-the-air broadcast network. And we have seen now the impact of over-the-air broadcast networks and their ability to deliver larger TV audiences than cable networks.
Is 834,000, that's under $1 million, is that good? Is that saleable?
Well, when one considers that it's 37% better than they did a year ago, and they continued this year, you have to believe that that's at the very least headed in the right direction from the network perspective, and it's filling in a hole on weekends. So, here's an interesting thing. By contrast, the PGA golf tournament on Friday, which was artificially driven up by the Scheffler
Scotty
situation.
Scheffler story, yeah.
Yeah, it did $1.6 million on Friday on ESPN. That's a major. That's one of the 4 highest events of the year, albeit Friday afternoon, but with an artificial driver there. They did $1.1 million on Thursday afternoon. So, these are off time periods. These are holes in the network schedule, and they're looking to fill something, and they're plugging it, and they're averaging under $1 million, but close.
What is an NBA? What is an NBA? Because we know football's the number one draw of anything, NFL then college.
Right.
What is a regular season NBA game draw? So we get a sense of what is a good number.
A regular season NBA game is in that neighborhood of 1.5 to 2 million, generally speaking, though it doesn't always get that high.
Okay.
The playoff games, by contrast, are averaging 3.6 million prior to this weekend's game 7.
Good. That's good.
So those are pretty good.
That's over 4 times the number that the USFL or the UFL is getting for their regular season. I don't know if those numbers will go up come playoff time. The WNBA last night. Caitlin Clark and her team, although she played pretty well, got hurt, came back 0-4. They still have yet to win a game. They started with $2.1 million. You have any idea where they are right now with those fever games that are all 36 of the 40 are on national TV?
They are. So they did open with a 2.1. That was a week ago, Tuesday. A week ago tonight was the opening game. Now, here's the interesting thing if you want to talk just about the Caitlin Clark effect.
Yeah.
Because last Tuesday was opening night, very hype, and a doubleheader on ESPN. So the Caitlin Clark 2.1 million audience led into a game featuring Phoenix against the 2-time defending WNBA champ, Las Vegas Aces. And that game went from the 2.1 delivered into it and averaged 464,000. So that's a precipitous drop.
75% drop.
75% drop. So, the question becomes, is this a Caitlin Clark phenomenon or is this a women's basketball phenomenon? At least on that night, Caitlin Clark drew 2.1 and the 2-time defending league champs drew 464,000. Same night, same platform, and it went from one game right into the other. And that's a key, audience lead-in retention.
Sure. Meaning
how much of the audience you hold from the show coming in is a key metric that people evaluate. So in that particular case, you only retain 25% of the audience coming in. Thursday night, Indiana played on Amazon, so there's no number from that game. They did play Saturday afternoon on ABC, and they played again last night on ESPN. Too early to have any ratings information on those games. But so it's going to be interesting throughout the course of the year. The league committed, as you mentioned, I think earlier, 36 of the 40 fever games are going to be available for national broadcasts, but they're 0-4 right now. And how long is that level of interest going to last? Yeah. The final point I would make, and I would be interested in your observation, I just never thought that Caitlin would look so physically overmatched on the floor with the other WNBA players. But the average WNBA player is bigger, faster, significantly than she is, at least as it appears from a television viewing standpoint. I didn't anticipate that. I didn't know that. I didn't think the gap would be that big.
I did, and I'll tell you part of the reason why I did is I got to hand it to Sue Bird and Diana Taurasi. Still one in the league. The other was the face of the league for a while.
That's right.
And they said she's going to be good, but she's got growing pains. I think you got to get used to it, and I think she will. She can still shoot. She is a tough, mentally strong person, and I think she's going to get tougher and better. So I think she will end up being a really big star in that league. You're never going to dominate the way you did in college. It's not possible because these girls are such great athletes. And she's not the most athletic, but she's really skilled. She's really smart. She has great vision. She has enough skills with that passing that she will. And look, she came back from a bad injury. They didn't think she'd come back, and she came back and hit a 33-foot. I think the deepest three she's hit in the pros. I think it's going to take time, but I think she's going to be great. And I thought it was really just capitalizing on an opportunity when they decided to put 36 of the 40 games on TV of hers, because I knew they would struggle. That was a terrible team last year. That's how they got her. And then they were stupid in their scheduling, because these first 4 games are against 2 teams that were both in the playoff picture last year. Good teams. They needed to start
really
with lousy teams.
Exactly. So, they've had the toughest schedule. They played 2 of the top 3 teams in the league twice.
Right. So it'll get better. All right, let's move to the courts. This week, $2.7 billion lawsuit that went to former players. The NCAA is gathering. The group of 4 says we'll pay 60% of that, about $1.6 billion. Group of 5 with no money's got to pay $1.1 billion. They got to agree on paying that off. And in this deal that they're all trying to conjure up, the group of 4 is saying we're willing to give 22% of our revenue from television, approximately $20 million per school, to the players. Keep in mind, the NFL, the NBA, over 50% goes to the players. This group has decided 22%. And I don't know how that money gets divvied up. Does that mean 10% goes to the women, 10% go to the men because of Title IX? What happens to a tennis team, a wrestling team, a swim team? Are they in on the money? What's going to happen, Joe Dank?
Well, the bottom line is nobody knows what this eventually will mean. But for the immediate objective of all concerned, what this is to do is to slow down and settle these antitrust suits that have been filed against the NCAA. This settlement of the case called House versus NCAA would also achieve a settlement on 2 other key court cases that are related to the antitrust issues. As you know, that is what has completely neutralized the NCAA to be able to operate, because if everything is a violation of antitrust, then they are unable to regulate the sport. They are unable to implement rules or enforce rules. So I think the primary objective here of the NCAA is to achieve this settlement, stall and put on hold or really settle other antitrust cases, and then allow the NCAA to let some of those issues that you talk about, while those are working, the NCAA is going to continue its activities at the federal level to work with Congress on achieving some type of a antitrust exemption, which will allow the NCAA to continue to exist and to, frankly, enforce and regulate college sports. Because right now we're talking about the wild, wild west.
Yeah.
And everything you just talked about, other than a select number of athletes getting a piece of the revenue in this, all of the other implications of these settlements can potentially be perceived as negative for sports other than football or basketball, for schools other than the new Power 4 schools. All of that money that you talked about that will be paid, the NCAA itself will pay 40%. The rest of it will be paid by the member institutions, and that's going to be paid by the NCAA not making its regular distribution of the units to these various schools, and to do that over 10 years. So immediate impact is schools have less revenue. The schools that don't have the huge media deals, which are the Power 4, they are going to pool $20 million. but everybody else is just going to have a reduction in their revenue coming in. And so that affects schools like University of Memphis in the AAC, and that's very interesting to see what that impact is. As you said earlier in the show, they'll never get to the point where they can allocate $20 million. We thought the FedEx deal at $5 million was going to be particularly good, but if the corresponding issue is to lose annual money for the next 10 years in terms of conference distribution from the NCAA, it's a very tough thing. And then every other sport is really a question mark.
The interesting thing to me is, that $20 million, that comes from the TV revenue. That doesn't stop a player from getting more money through the NIL.
Well, but one of the outcomes of the settlement may be a relook at NIL. And NIL actually, now remember, so if the settlement is achieved, the NCAA now has some new standing to create some additional rules and regulations. And one of the things that is contemplated by this is, at the very least, a restructuring of how NIL works, but it also contemplates the possible elimination of the collectives, because in essence you will be bringing player compensation in-house.
Yeah.
Because now it's a as you say, a revenue share. And I think, frankly, the revenue share is beyond just the TV money. It's total revenue, because in order to get to $20 million per school per year, 20% is on a total of $100 million, and nobody's getting $100 million.
No, the most I
TV.
think is 70 per school.
Yeah, the Big Ten.
So you're right. It's got to be the total revenue package of tickets sold and things of that nature. How they divvy that out? By the way, Title IX is going to make 10, half of that go to the women, I think. So a lot of stuff still open. For next week, we tried to get to this last. I mentioned it. I want to go over what you think are the most effective commissioners. Pete Rozelle, David Stern. You could throw in a guy like Peter Ueberroth, Tim Fincham, Jim Delaney, Mike Slive. A lot of great commissioners that have made their leagues better. Let's talk a little bit about that next Tuesday.
That sounds like a good idea, and I look forward to that.
Me too. Thank you much, Joe. We appreciate it. Always interesting discussion when you come along.
Thank you, David.
Thank you. That's Joe Denk. He is our guy on the business of sports. I'm sitting in the Family Leisure Studio, and a reminder that factory direct pricing on swimming pools, spas, and patio furniture still continues. Yes, it is patio season, and all the 2024s are in with new fabrics, new designs. They're gorgeous. Just go see them. I promise you'll love them. And if you're ready for a pool or a swim spa, you can save $1,000 to $5,000. It's the time to go, because pool season is here, and they know that at Family Leisure. We are back. We'll go to Baton Rouge, our SEC historian, Ron Higgins, on commissioners, on this Florida court hearing, and on the SEC baseball tournament. He's right around the corner.
We are real sports talk. Sports 56 WHBQ. Available on your radio dial at 560 AM and 98.5 FM, as well as around the world online at sports56whbq.com. Take us with you everywhere by downloading the Sports 56 app. And at home, just say, Alexa, play Sports 56. Wherever you are, stay tuned in to Real Sports Talk. Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
I'm Gary York. I'm the service director at Lexus of Memphis. Our service department wants to be more than just a place where you get your oil changed. We do glass repair, windshield replacement, recalibration of your camera and sonar systems, even wheel repair, tire replacement, all the things you would expect from a luxury automotive dealer. Please check out our website. You can schedule your appointment, check out our specials, hours of operation, or if you'd like to do it in person, please reach out to one of our associates at 901-271-5199.
Memorial Day weekend is coming, which means many folks will be grilling. And if you're firing up the grill this weekend or any weekend, there's one place to go for everything you need: Memphis Barbecue Supply. You need charcoal? They have 10 different brands of either lump or briquette charcoal. Pellets? How about over 2 tons in stock? 12 different flavors and blends.
Looking for wood for smoking? Memphis Barbecue Supply has 9 different types of wood in chips, chunks, mini logs, and logs. You can even mix and match your wood from their bins of loose chunks. Whatever it is that you're grilling, steaks, ribs, burgers, pork butts, you name it, they have over 378 different rubs, sauces, injections, and raw spices to make sure your food tastes great. If you have any questions, they have award-winning pitmasters on staff that can help ensure that your cook will be the best ever. Memphis Barbecue Supply, 7041 Stage Road, or online, mbbqsupply.com.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
This story is called The Ugly Truth About Timeshare. If you think you've done your family a favor by buying a timeshare, you need my help. Hello, I'm Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group. 10 years ago, I started helping folks cancel their timeshare. In the process, started Wesley Financial Group to do one thing: help people get out of their timeshare nightmare. When you buy a timeshare, the timeshare company can raise your annual maintenance fees at will. I recently helped a couple that had their maintenance fees go from $800 to $3,200 a year. They also received a $4,000 assessment for a hurricane that was over 1,000 miles away. Sound crazy? Stop the insanity today. Call my office now. If we take you as a client, I guarantee we'll cancel your timeshare or you'll pay nothing.
Want out of your timeshare? Call now for your free timeshare exit info kit. 800-462-3333. That's 800-462-3333. 800-462-3333.
As the seasons change, so does the need for reliable home comfort. It's time to turn to the experts with Choates, where your family's comfort is our top priority. Right now, Choates is making it easier than ever to upgrade your home's climate control with our exceptional Carrier systems. There's never been a better time to enhance your comfort. Select from incredibly low monthly payments, 36 months no interest financing, or choose our $1,650 Cool Cash rebate instead and lower the upfront cost on select Carrier systems. It's not just savings, it's Cool Cash in your pocket. Low monthly payments, no interest financing, or Cool Cash rebates? Whatever you choose, you're choosing quality, reliability, and the trusted service of Choates. Call us today at 347-8086 or visit ChoatesHVAC.com to learn more about these incredible savings. But hurry, these deals are as fleeting as a cool breeze on a hot day. Choates, let our family serve your family.
Around here at Wrangler, we are all excited for spring. The longer days, the warmer nights. When you've got your pick of shorts and jeans, either works just fine. Blue skies, open roads. Wrangler, for the ride of life.
Now back to Wolo and Friends on Sports 56. Here once again is the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin.
Let's head down to Baton Rouge. Our SEC historian, Ron Higgins, joins us on the Sissy's Log Cabin guest line. I knew this was going to happen. You and I haven't talked about this particular aspect, but I read about it after I had chatted with you this morning. There is a University of Florida quarterback recruit named Jaden Rashada who is suing Billy Napier, the University of Florida, and a booster for $13.85 million. He was supposed to get $1 million signing bonus when he signed his letter of intent and then get paid the rest over the years, that he never got paid a penny. And he said he was offered $9.5 million from Miami. And now he's suing. First time I've heard of this. I knew it was coming at some point. Give me your take on all of that. Do you have any insight on it?
I'd like to take a shower just to get all the grease off, to be honestly. This is what we've sunk into in college athletics. It's all strictly about money. And when you speak up and say something like, we're not just going to go buy players, like Brian Kelly said, LSU, everybody just says, what are you talking about? You'll never get another recruit again. You're just saying you don't buy any players. All he was saying was, we're going to be selective in who we get, and it's not going to be just about money. And this is what you get when you get the bidding war. What you get, and it's. I feel sorry for Florida. I feel bad for the kid. It's just
I mean, is this the beginning of the? Napier's already on a hot seat. We know that. But is this the beginning of the true end of Billy Napier? I don't understand how you can be involved in a transaction where you say, okay, this is what I'm doing for you, and then as soon as you sign the letter of intent, you get nothing. I mean, that's amazing to me.
I mean, coaches know how much is being paid. I mean, as we know, there's collectives, and then there's by the school, then there's a separate deals with NIL deals with individuals, and the coach always knows how much it's going to take to get a kid. Always. I had an LSU assistant coach tell me, he goes, the guy who's been an assistant coach forever, tell me, he goes, it's crazy. He goes, the first thing, when you go to the living room with a kid, you go visit a kid, it's like you find out what his number is, how much is you going to need for us to get him. So the coach knows, and he had to know that. So, yeah, I mean, it's sticky. Yeah, I hate hearing that.
Yeah, it's going to be fun to watch how all of this plays out. Even your dog is obviously intrigued. I was going to talk with Joe Dank, who we have on before you, about commissioners. We're going to do that next week. But it dawned on me, you have been around the SEC so long, you have seen 5 different commissioners. I know Sankey, Slive, Kramer, Schiller. I forget who the first one was. You go back a long way.
Bud McWhorter. And they all brought something different. Bud McWhorter had been a professor at Georgia. Harvey Schiller was an Air Force colonel. Roy Kramer was an athletic director at Vanderbilt. Mike Sloth had the most complete skill set of all. He'd been an attorney, a judge, an athletic director, a conference commissioner. And then you have Sankey, Greg Sankey, who learned under Mike Sloth and had been in administration and athletics for a long time. A one-time golf coach at Northwestern State in Natchitoches, Louisiana. So all these guys have different skill sets. But because Sloth was so complete, all the things he brought to the table, he was the best commissioner.
I think he's the best commissioner I have ever seen. And I'll be honest with you. I knew he was going to be great when he got the SEC because he was great. He started a league. He started the Great Midwest Conference, which was a fun conference to be involved in. But you just went through all the things that he had done. He had been a success in everything he had started with and completed. And I remember Roy Kramer. When he took over from Schiller, he really brought the league into big money. That's when it became the biggest business. And then, of course, Slive took it to a different plateau. But everybody said, you're never going to top Roy Kramer. He was a good guy. I remember first time I ever met Roy Kramer, he was the AD at Vanderbilt. And nobody's, they'll never do what he did. And then Slive just was incredible. I thought he was the best. How would you say Sankey has performed? Because he had a tough act to follow.
Yeah, a real tough act to follow. I think Greg tried to carve his own path a little bit. I mean, Greg's been more about. From the very beginning, he talked about athletes' rights and doing more things for athletes, being better health care, more listening to athletes more of what of their problems and what their take is on things. And I think that's been good to get the athlete's viewpoint. And like Mike, he's protected the SEC. And some people, may not like Sankey because, in his mind, he puts the SEC first. That's his job. I think Mike was probably the same way, but a little bit better at getting a consensus in any kind of argument or any kind of issue. Mike would get a consensus from the room. That was his talent. So many times at SEC meetings, they were divided on issues, and Mike's life would get a consensus on issues before it was over. He just had this magical talent of bringing people to the table. And make them all agree. One SEC meeting, there was a lot of public arguments between football coaches in this league. I think this is when Kiffin was at Tennessee. They got to the spring meetings in Destin. Mike Sankey I mean, Greg Sankey brought all the football coaches and ADs in one room and read them the riot act, and that was it. It was over. There was no more public sniping, and that was his talent. And he was, I miss him every day. And he died, I think, several years ago at the age of 77 because of cancer.
Yeah.
But God just and cared about every aspect of the SEC, from the administrative to the athletics to the financial, even for the media. He cared about media operations, and he did a lot in that area.
I remember that incident you're talking about, and he was always protective of the brand. Here's what I see as the difference, and I'm an outsider. I don't know all the intricacies. You and Brett Norsworthy would probably know a lot better than me on this. But my take is Mike Slive, who I respect a great deal. As I said, I think he's the best college commissioner I've ever seen. He protected the brand. He cared about everything SEC, but he also looked at the big picture of how everything was affected in college athletics. I don't believe Greg Sankey has that viewpoint. He is only protective and only cares about the advancement of SEC and SEC schools, sometimes, in my opinion, as I look at the big picture, to the detriment of the whole big picture. The two commissioners, Big Ten and the SEC, are just basically trying to take over and change the way college athletics is.
Yeah, I mean, it does appear that way, and I'm just I always wonder if Mike Slive were alive today, how he would handle it. But I would say his first priority was the SEC, but it was always for the betterment of college athletics. How can we make all this work for all of us?
Big picture, yeah, I agree.
Big picture, and that's just the way he was, and. So I'd be interested to see how he'd handle all the circus today, the NIL and all the money and what's going on. But yeah, it's a crazy time to be a conference commissioner, an athletic director, or a head coach.
I agree, and it's some of that is going to get decided in a direction with these meetings pertaining to the $2.7 billion settlement and the new collective agreement, where 22% of the revenue, $20 million a year from the group of five going to players, is going to be decided. Ron, as always, we appreciate it. We'll do this again next Tuesday. Thank you, buddy. Enjoy your weekend.
Take care.
All right, bye-bye. That is Ron Higgins, brought to you by Ken Garland. Third generation now of a Garland in the home building business. And any other builder I talk to, and I talk to a bunch of builders, they all go, Ken Garland is just the perfect guy as a builder, because he is going to take care of all of his clients. That's just the way he works. He will give you what you should expect, which is on time, on budget. He's always there. And here's the other thing. The job's never done. He works with architects. He's always making sure you get what you expect. He's got 70 years of experience. Now his son William is in the business, third generation. That when the gig is over, when you've moved in, if something goes wrong, he feels a responsibility to make sure he's going to see that through. It's not done. It's the way he works at it. It's a working progress thing. And that's how he's operated. That's why he's been around for 70 years. And now 3 different generations in that business. See what I'm talking about? KenGarland.com. You'll see all these beautiful homes. And then call 751-1632. It doesn't have to be a new home. It could be renovation. I call it renovation with innovation. You love your lot, but you want modern amenities. He's the perfect guy for that. He knows it all. Just go check it out. KenGarland.com, 751-1632. That's the number for Ken Garland Custom Home Builders. That'll do it for me. We'll see you tomorrow morning. Standing by is Johnny Radio. Have a great day, everybody.